punished or protecting. For more than 8 years, I have endured malicious prosecution, financial sabotage, and death threats, simply for speaking out about child endangerment and systematic corruption in our cities and courts. I have reported evidence of trafficking and pedophile placement in all systems of our communities, within youth NGVs, local governments, judicial systems that turn a blind eye to retaliation, exploitation, and an abuse of power. The truth is, our nation has no meaningful protection for advocates who defend children and families. Those who report wrongdoing are crushed by the very systems meant to protect justice, threatened by officials, silenced by law firms, and isolated through networks of influence that operate as organized crime syndicates. Yet, every one of us who reports abuse is doing exactly what the law requires. We are mandatory reporters, not criminals. We are advocates, not agitators. We are Americans exercising our constitutional duty to defend the vulnerable. That is why I am urging you to pass the Family Justice and Accountability Act, authored by Francesca Amato of Punished for Protection, Inc. This bill is not just reform, it is a lifeline for all of us. It states individuals, including but not limited to ADA advocates, constitutional advocates, family court reform advocates, and civil rights practitioners shall not be threatened with criminal sanctions or civil liability under any statute. The single sentence should be etched in every courthouse in the United States of America. Because right now, those of us defending the Constitution, advocating for abused children, or healthy families navigate broken systems are being targeted, harassed, and criminalized. I've seen whistleblowers stripped of their businesses, families destroyed by judicial bias, and advocates, ADA protected, threatened into silence. Actually, I have lived it. Even when federally funded organizations like USA Volleyball and Safe Sport have anti-retaliation policies, they are completely ignored, leaving mandatory reporters vulnerable to targeting. This bill restores integrity. It guarantees that whistleblowers and advocates can safely report corruption and abuse to the Department of Justice and have a path to our Congress that is currently broken for all of us. Most importantly, it affirms that we all know to be true. Protecting children and families should never be treated as a crime. Members of Congress, please be bold. Stand up for those silenced for doing what is right. Pass the Family Justice and Accountability Act for every advocate living under threat, for every child whose safety was traded for profit, and for every family who still believes that this nation can protect them. We cannot have justice if those who defend it are persecuted, and we cannot protect children if we are punished as their protectors. God bless you all. Christ is King. Thank you.
Yeah. So now Katie Mosley, Colorado TV.
Good afternoon. I prepared this speech for Congress to hear. Being up on the podium reminds me of the many pro se litigation trials that I have represented myself in. This is my hope that it actually is heard. My name is Katie Mosley, and I am the team lead for the Colorado chapter. I'm here to represent every parent being silenced by the domestic terrorism and child sex trafficking that is occurring in our family court system. People in Colorado are afraid to speak up. Let me be clear, especially stay-at-home mothers in Colorado are being stalked, harassed, extorted, and intimidated by not only ex-spouses, but by a predatory network involving courts, public schools,
mental health professionals and clinics, pediatricians, and law enforcement. Colorado has a racketeering issue in the family court, but it also has a pedophile and child exploitation ring involving people in positions of trust that have been strategically placed. In Colorado, we had Hayden's Law passed, but this has turned into a trafficking bill disguised as a domestic violence bill. That's how it's being exercised. Anyone who mentions it is retaliated against. It's manipulated. It's not helping survivors and children. Instead of accusing safe parents of having a PAS diagnosis or syndrome, they renamed the GALs to CLRs, child legal representatives. And the abusers now simply bypass everything and hold the children hostage. That's what they do. It made it easier for them. I watched it happen in my own case. I stopped being accused of alienation, and it's like he laughed at me. Oh, we can just keep going. So I see how it's working. These court actors are educated in ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. I know that because I presented that with many other scientific evidence documents and studies. That's why I had to figure it out for myself. But they already have this research. They're not lacking education. They're doing it because they understand the results of these studies. They choose not to follow our laws. I am a certified public school teacher. I have 3 decades of experience in 3 different states. I've written a memoir about healing from abuse and teaching that coming from privilege does not spare you from domestic violence. Healing and breaking trauma bonds does. It can. I divorced before my daughters knew and had experienced and fell trapped to the trauma bond with my ex-spouse. The family court forced us back into that relating, and into an even more sadistic one that I did not know existed. Way worse than what we were already experiencing. They taught him more tools of sadistic torture. They looked at the documentation of it. They're ignoring it. I hold graduate level training in mindfulness mental health counseling. I specialize in child development, attachment, and conscious parenting. I led a peaceful parenting group of 150 members before this happened. That's why I chose to stay at home, because I know how important healthy attachment is. They intentionally went to destroy that and sever it. None of this mattered in court, because they're weaponizing the DSM to use against survivors. The clinical mental health professionals know that they're doing this in the majority of clinics. The university I attended knew this was happening. They're lowering the age of consent to clinical mental health care, specifically Colorado. I know it differs by state. It started in Colorado, California, and it came to Colorado. It's moving. It moves through the states. They're lowering this to get children behind closed doors with counselors. Assistance still need repair from trauma, but it starts there in a lot of cases. When else would you consent a parent to having a child behind closed doors with no camera and legally licensed, protected, whatever they write about you, getting into your kid's head? And those counselors they have specific school counselors that are trained even more specifically and strategically that only can work in the schools. You can't switch back and forth. They're 2 different trajectories. Just like counselors and social workers are 2 different trajectories. So they have dialed this in. They know what they're doing. They're grooming them, and they're blocking the parents. When the school starts doubles down on blocking me. When my daughters began showing clear signs and making disclosures consistent with sexual abuse, which I have been trained in spotting the signs as a mandated reporter for 3 decades in 2 different fields, I knew. I reported, expecting a criminal investigation to open up. That's what all teachers think happened. That's what all counselors think happened. That's not what happens. The attorneys laughed at me. They said, we don't have to report to them. Law enforcement laughed at me when I was in court. This, they keep it trapped. It's a predatory sanctuary is what the family court is that they have created. It doesn't go get reported to criminal. I was shocked by that. I went through another layer of the systemic betrayal, just floored. But I recovered. I didn't expect me to. Every time I see another fail, I recover. And then I start to see them get nervous. Yeah. Because I'm like, that's right. I'm like, oh, they're asking me to do that again. So yes, of course, the courts did their typical, oh, she's hysterical. Delusional. Hallucination.
Right.
I mean, I've seen the documents in my training for counseling. It's very vague. Any abuser can say, she's not sensible. She's not making any sense, and they can involuntarily commit you. Like, this is a tool of oppression. It is not a tool of protection. And the most afflicted people by this turn and start working with this. That's the scary part. So that's when they go after them younger and younger, because it ensures either a future client or a future agent. Yep. So they unleashed their severe legal and psychological warfare, but I wasn't a university for my degree, so I have a lot of psychological strength, which they did not expect. They awarded him more custody, because once the kids started disclosing, it's like they want to cut you off completely. That's a red flag. And other people either are scared or they don't know how to identify the red flag because of all the social conditioning. They put me on supervised periods of time, which of course my ex-spouse immediately began ignoring. And then they used their private agents to show up as the only people they'll consent to. They won't consent to friends, family, anyone in the community. It's these people who won't put their faces, their credentials, nothing online. Who are they? They're criminals. That's who they are. They are. Mothers who breastfed and practiced attachment parenting are being bankrupted, literally bankrupted into homelessness. Just like I have been. And then they're shamed into not speaking. Liquidating all of your assets. Compounded interest. There's no way to go get a second job. That's in the movies. Okay, that's part of the programming. That's why they call it programming. That's on the program tonight. And then they're making these mothers pay child support to their abusers, to sexual predators. It's enslavement and it's demoralizing to do this while you know you're paying to have your children to watch them be harmed. That's the definition of torture, and making you watch it happen. These are war tactics. They're terrorist tactics. I was thrown under the bus by attorneys. I refer to them as the gatekeepers. A family court, forced to become a pro se litigant, which actually was better than having them represent me. But it still puts you in a situation where you are alone in the courtroom, maybe a couple people, and the Colorado parents have now begun to refer to this as just the ritualistic gang rape. That's what it is. It's a big party for them. And it is a ritual. They go through the routine. Evidence was ignored. Professional testimonies by deputies, pediatric chiropractors, family therapists, the ones we could actually trust in the beginning, called irrelevant, brushed under the table. A traumatic head injury to my oldest daughter was ignored. The medical document. There's likely to be pleasure in this.
They do.
An incident requiring mouth-to-mouth resuscitation recorded on a medical document. I trained to CPR when I was 15 years old. Like 15 to about age 30. And I go to this training as a teacher too. Because of the active shooter drills and all of this stuff they make, and this weird stuff they make all the kids do. You don't give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation when somebody is unconscious and won't wake up and is not breathing. Why did that happen? Where are the other mandated reporters? Nothing was done. It was dismissed in court as typical childhood experiences. That's a quote by our magistrate. And in Jefferson County, they loop it in the magistrates. You know, once you see the judge in the initial divorce, they trap it in the magistrates so then you can only do reviews. It never gets out because it's only if it's worded right. Well, we know it's worded right, but they're using color of law. They're changing the record. They're taking out the original order of protection I had on him for me and the children as if it never existed. And we only started with the restraint on my parenting time. Okay? This is framing.
Yes.
This is a felony crime.
Yes.
Our family dog was starved and seizure stuff on my own child. And they said it was hearsay, the dog was probably no investigation, that's also a felony. And it's also telling the kids, oh, this is normal not to call the veterinarian, so it's modeling criminal behavior as normal. Modeling things that are opposed to what I've taught them is healthy, happy, responsible behavior, and they sense the incongruence, your nervous systems. And so what do? The mental health clinics, clinicians diagnose them with anxiety. They blame it on them. They gaslight the kids. The kids know what they witnessed was wrong. Despite that's the ultimate gaslight. Despite my credentials and legal reports to multiple agencies, no valid investigation has been conducted to date. The county's child abuse investigator, who the FBI made open an investigation, refused to conduct, even after he told me he was going to, refused to conduct a child forensic interview of the children. Even after I reported evidence of online child exploitation and narcotics, which we know is an issue because the chief of schools was found guilty last December of C-STAMP, multiple counts, and then 2 weeks later committed suicide. So we know they hire their buddies. Okay? Since then, my daughters, Sasha and Decker, ages 8 and 11, have been isolated from me, have been cut off all contact for 10 solid months, not a text, not a phone call, nothing. Father has obtained passports without my consent, and they denied my petition for child abduction prevention, even though I mentioned and cite every baby prevention red flag is being currently met and has been met for almost a year now. My daughter is being held hostage in plain sight. That's what's happening. And has me living like a refugee in my own country. Abusers are being granted EPOs, as a permanent order of protection in Colorado, they call them, on victims for telling the truth about the corruption. That's how they're silencing us. It's a tool of control of the victims, not protection for the victims. It's a manipulation. This is a predictable pattern of retaliation, and no one warned me. The DV shelters and advocates play, and they have no idea what you're talking about. They're part of the problem. They watch this happen and no one said a thing. It's the most dangerous place. That's what I was trying to tell my colleagues in the mental health. Through this spiritual program, I said, that's the last place you send people. They could not grasp what I was talking about. Sometimes we just have to see it for ourselves. This is how children go missing. This is an emergency, a national emergency. The Family Justice and Accountability Act is the most well-written document I have seen that addresses every single loophole they're exploiting right now. We need the children returned to safety. We need this bill passed and enforced so that the kids can come back and this tyranny that is overtaking the whole nation can end. Amen.
joke, by the way. Damian Casanova, come on. We're voting for him. He's our next congressman.
Don't do it.
I'll be really quick for everyone. But, yes. My name is David Casanova. I'm here representing from Pennsylvania. And I'm new to the cause. However, I'm not new to the struggle. I'm a hardworking father and the person at the center of my case. Before all this, I was living a stable future, working 2 jobs, while studying to become an engineer as well. I had no criminal record, strong credit, and clear vision for my life. That changed when I met my former partner. A Polish national, who I supported her completely, even moving from Pennsylvania to a place I'd never been before. My family even helped us get an apartment, because since she couldn't qualify for it legally. But despite all my efforts to make things work, she was emotionally manipulative and often dismissive. But looking back, it's not hard to feel that it was a calculated move to secure my child. Not long after birth, she accused me of making her feel threatened. I was also guilty of her. She was granted a protective order for that reason. Even though I had no history of violence or being abusive, it didn't rip part of my child's life and granting her full custody. The false accusation has destroyed my life. I've been arrested multiple times, in court, custody disputes, while doing everything I can to comply with the law. My reputation, finances, and mental health have all suffered. What hurts the most is that now she's threatening to take our son Anthony outside the country, and she was given a passport without consent. And honestly, so today I really just urge Congress, its Congress members here, to pass this bill, because this would directly affect me and hold those judges accountable for what they did to me. And most importantly, any future parents and children that will have to go through what I've been going through. Okay? So thank you.
I want to say something to a little bit from what I've experienced over the years. Domestic violence women, okay, that are victims, genuine victims, don't have their children because of the small percentage that falsely accuse fathers, and fathers that are not domestic violence perpetrators don't have their children. I think it makes sense. I have a couple more. I'm going to bring up actually Danielle. I just want to let you know so you guys are prepared. Okay? Danielle, Honorati, and then I'm going to have Robert Ellis, and then I think it was a child, Madeline Webb. Okay, so we're going to go in that order if you guys don't mind, and then we have to sit in the room.
He's going to use the restroom.
Hold on.
Are you going to also give us any more tidbits on like the committee stuff?
So you're signing, anybody that was in here earlier too, you're signing that sheet that's going around. If you want to be a part of a committee, you're going to put your email and your phone number next to it on the right. And then regarding the committees, we're going to keep the Wednesday night meetings going for committee members.
Yes.
Okay? There's going to be a lot to explain that we don't know specifically what your strengths are, what your specialties are.
They're so cute.
So we can kind of figure out what categories you're going to be in for whatever committee you're going to be. All right? Or it might be a collaboration of the bill. I'm not sure. It's going to depend on the policy. Next week. Thank you. And if you guys see that,
I will.
This is for the committees?
yeah, that's the sheet. Yeah. Just guys kind of work it around so everybody gets it, please. Bring it back to the front, Tim. We have a lot of people here.
I've been doing that at
No, don't speak, Tom. Don't speak, Tom.
I'll keep you on the pace. When you're at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'll move.
Yeah, but if you go over, it's okay. That's fine. I just can't go like really, really long. Okay, okay.
You can do this. You can do
Okay,
it.
please go.
I can't see, so I have to read it.
That's right, it's okay. I'm not a judge, I won't do that.
I've had to check with all the property that I have on this. That district setback, this is what the facts are. There's certain ways I have to do things, because I can't remember what I was